And we are recording. Well, hello, Mother.
Good morning. So happy to be here.
Fancy meeting you here.
Yes.
Okay, everybody, I have a special treat for you today. I am interviewing my lovely, beautiful madre, Mamacita, and she is a rock star because she is. Well, I'm going to have her explain it to you. I'm going to ask her a bunch of questions. But we should all be so healthy as her at her age, and she's going to talk to you about how she does it. So, why don't you start with stating for the record your name and your age, please?
My name is Pamela Patrick, and I was born in 1943.
Wow,
So
that's old. Just kidding.
I know.
1943. Uh-huh.
I had a student ask me yesterday, Miss, how old are you?
Uh-huh.
And my answer is always, I'm ageless.
Good answer.
It was cute. Then the student said, I'm 8.
Oh, so sweet.
It was
So 1943, that would make you 73 this year.
in,
Is that right?
in
70.
September.
Okay, so tell me, and all of the Clean Food Dirty Girl people and family, tell me how many medications you're currently taking.
I don't take any medications.
0.
0.
And have you ever taken any medications?
No.
0. Okay, so here's what I find really amazing, because we have this idea in this society that as we age, we start to fall apart and we start to break down and shit just goes wrong. Yes, my mom knows that I cuss all the time. It's fine. She can handle it. Where do you think I learned it from? Just kidding. I'm way worse than she is. But yeah, so we have this idea that as we get older, we start to need medication and we need more doctors, and our body just starts to not work. And to a certain extent, of course, things happen as we age, and we all are going to age. We're all going to, die someday. But I believe that it's a huge misconception that as we age, we start to break down. And I wanted to bring you on because you're the perfect example of, no, we fucking don't have to break down. We don't have to be on medications as we go into our 70s. We can still be working at 73 if we want to, like this crazy woman, and be really active and have a really happy, healthy life. So you are an inspiration for me and always have been. And I want to talk to you today about how you've achieved this radiant health as you've aged so gracefully.
Well, thank you.
So what do you do? Tell me why you think that, because you see people in your peer group and your age range, and most of those people are doing a lot worse off than you. So what sets you apart?
I think there are a couple of main things that set us apart. First of all, I believe that what I eat definitely sets us apart. And I can, even without hearing conversations, I can observe that as I have lunch in the lunchroom with my peers or in the classroom with my peers. Definitely there's a big difference there. So the food that I eat, I think, is one thing that sets us apart. And probably another thing that sets us apart is our level of physical activity, what we do in our free time, what we consider to be our leisure activities. And I would have to say a third thing, too, is that I feel happy in my life. I feel happy. I feel blessed with my family and with my health, with where I am in life. So I do have an inner peace and an inner happiness. And I think that makes a big difference, because I see so many people who clearly are very unhappy. And
Sure.
I think that takes its toll.
Yeah, of course. And so mom's a school teacher. So if you didn't piece that together already, but she's a substitute teacher for kindergarten through middle school? Is that right? Yeah. And so I think that you're right. And I think that a big part of that happiness is based on how we're feeling, because when we feel physically shitty, and crappy and we need to be in bed all day, who's going to be happy? And
Right.
so I think such a, not everything, but a big portion of that happiness stems from how we feel on a day-to-day basis, just within our own body, physically, mentally, everything else. And I also know that you meditate all the time on a daily basis. You have a very, very good and solid meditation practice. And I know that that really helps you as well maintain that balance, right? It's a big inspiration for me. So I think that you're right. And because, because what I do is food, I really want to focus on that food part right now. And I want to ask you, how long, well, first of all, tell me about your diet, because I know this. I'm taking it for granted that I know, but everybody else doesn't know. So tell everybody what you eat.
Well, I do eat a whole food plant-based diet. Yeah. And actually, I started this many, many, many years ago when I was expecting our second child, Annalise, who was born in 1969. And I was fortunate enough to have a doctor who advocated at that time a vegetarian diet.
Which was crazy for that time.
You've got that right.
Yeah.
And I was raised by a family of very traditional eaters, so to speak. So it was meat 3 times a day growing up as a child, and lots of canned vegetables, very little, in the way of actual fresh foods. Uncle Ben's converted white rice, if there was rice. And I think I remember my mom cooking lima beans, which she loved. So this was not the way I started my life, that is for sure.
So you grew up with a pretty standard American diet.
I did. Mm-hmm. I certainly did. That's not, over a period of time I changed that, and for many reasons, until the time, where I'm at right now, when I am eating a very, I believe, health supporting diet, one that supports the things that I want to do. Gives me the energy that I need to go forward with the things I enjoy, working, teaching in the schools, teaching a meditation class, hiking, being out and about.
Scurrying around. So we have this little inside joke. Luann and I always talk about how you're a scurrier and how the woman is never sitting down. In fact, I'm surprised that she agreed to this interview, because she actually has to sit for 30 minutes because she's always going somewhere, doing something. She's more active than I am. I'm a lazy fucker. I didn't get that from you, Mom. I don't know where I got that from. But she is always, always moving. So tell me when you made the transition then to a plant-based diet, since you grew up with this really meat-heavy diet. First of all, did you really love that meat-heavy diet? And was that something that was hard for you when you made the transition?
No, I did not love it. As a child, I had chronic constipation, and I also had a lot of headaches. My diet was heavy in animal protein and sugar. Getting into high school, I did have, during the winter time, I at least had 2 rounds of strep throat every year that I can remember.
Taking antibiotics for that, I imagine.
Yes, absolutely. Once I left home and started changing things for myself, I didn't ever have another strep throat again in my life. So I would say that I actually began to change that diet in 1969.
Okay.
By the time 1997 rolled around, I had a major gallbladder attack, which sent me to the emergency room.
And at that time, how were you eating? Because you were vegetarian at that point, but you were still eating dairy and a lot of cheese, right?
I never liked dairy. Like, I never was a milk drinker per se. I never was a big cheese eater because my mother never had it in the house except for Velveeta. And that was kind of creepy, even as
quote unquote.
Yeah. So I was eating cheese if it was on, say, a lasagna or a pizza or something like in a meal. So when I went to the emergency room with this, a doctor who was there, very enlightened doctor, by the way, said, "What did you eat?" And I told him what I'd eaten, and he said, "Soft cheeses are the hardest foods to digest. Stop eating dairy."
That was another fortunate doctor that you had in your life, because most doctors don't say a damn thing about what you're eating. So that was a very lucky thing that happened to you.
It was. And so he determined I was having a gallbladder attack, offered to enroll me there in a room, and I politely declined, told him I was going to go home. He gave me a shot in my fanny for the intense pain. I had 4 children by then, and this got my attention. It was pretty severe.
The pain of the gallbladder.
Yes.
Attack.
So I did go home. I did pass those gallstones, and I did take heed, and I began studying and reading as much as I could about plant-based eating. Mm-hmm. That's when I made that switch from being a vegetarian to being a plant-based person. At that time, whole food plant-based wasn't a term that had been coined. So the term was at that time vegan.
Mm-hmm. And when you turned vegan in 1997, I remember when this was happening for you, and you were eating, veggies, fruits, beans, some whole grains, and some fruit. I mean, you were not eating any vegan cheese or any vegan substitutions. I mean, you were eating like sweet potatoes. You weren't even eating avocados or any plant-based fat, or very minimal for the first couple of months of doing this. So I know that those vegan foods, and not, there weren't so many available as they are today anyways, but you were really focused on eating for your health at that point, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. For my health, for sure. As soon as I learned that a vegetarian diet was more healthy, which I'd never heard of, that really motivated me to start exploring that. And then going vegan, more exploration was necessary, and study, more reading. And so that's kind of the evolution of how it all went. I was quite motivated.
Right. And most people, I think, make this change when something happens, because we're not taught to eat for prevention or, prevent anything in general. We're conditioned and we're trained to deal with things as they come up, So I think that the prevention part kind of gets lost, and most people are like yourself. When the shit hits the fan, then we make changes, and sometimes it's a blessing in disguise for a lot of people too. So, all right,
absolutely,
yeah. All right. So my next question is, what changed for you physically and mentally or emotionally after you made this transition? How did you feel physically and mentally differently than you did before?
Well, once I got past the passing of the gallstones, which took about 2 months recovery time, having chosen not to have that gallbladder taken out,
right?
That was not an option for me. So it took me about 2 months to recover from that. Once I recovered from that, I was feeling very, very good. I lost about 30 pounds over a period of about 3 months, and got down to an ideal weight, which I've maintained.
Since 1997.
Yes, that's
brava.
Correct.
Yes.
And really, that's what happens. And I've read a lot about this that also says, you can expect this, and truly you can expect this. Mm-hmm. So I was feeling lighter physically, and I was feeling lighter in other ways too, emotionally, psychologically. I was just feeling better all the way around. I was feeling healthier. I wasn't loggy. I felt clearer. At that time, I was managing the Silver City Food Co-op, which was a big job and very challenging at times. So I felt that it really supported me in my work there, being able to organize, being able to work cooperatively with a lot of other people, and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
The changes were big.
Yeah, it was good.
Definitely. Yeah, and you've maintained this now since 1997. So tell me a little bit about how you feel right now, because I guarantee that if I just took a sample of people, even on my block, and I said, okay, every 72 or 73-year-old come over to my house and I want to ask you how you're feeling physically, or ask you how you're feeling mentally, I bet you they're not going to be feeling as good as you. So at your age right now, how do you feel on a day-to-day basis? When you wake up in the morning, Do you have energy? Tell me just a little bit about that and how you're feeling right now at your age.
Yes, when I wake up in the morning, I am fully ready for a brand new day, and I welcome that brand new day every morning when I wake up. I'm very happy that I'm waking up, that I'm there, and that I'm feeling energized. I've slept well. I feel refreshed, and I'm ready to start my day. I am energetic. I don't feel the need to first thing in the morning, get that cup of coffee, which wasn't always the case, but certainly is now. So I feel good when I wake up, and I feel ready for the day and excited about the prospects that I might be doing during the day. And I start my day on a very, very positive and supportive footing by making that smoothie. I think making that smoothie is just, that's the cornerstone.
So I want to ask you a little bit about your daily routine, because I'm sure that people are going to be wanting to do exactly what you're doing. So yeah, tell me what you incorporate into your day as far as food goes. Tell me about that.
Well, that smoothie, as I said, is the cornerstone of my day. It sets me up with the nutrients that I need to really fuel my activities. And I do look at food as fuel, because I look at the body as this wonderful, wonderful kind of almost, we can liken it, I suppose, to some sort of a machine. A very beautiful human variety. So my smoothie every day, I do pretty much the same every day because I like my combination. And after having experimented a little bit, I've found what works for me and what I really love. And so what happens is into the blender go the green kale, a nice big handful. Then I take about a half of a small medium beet and I cut it up, a raw one, put it in the blender. I slice off a nice big chunk of red cabbage.
Red cabbage, tons of antioxidants.
Yes. Then I take a half of an orange and I just take off the thinnest layer of that orange color around the orange, leaving the white because that's where the bioflavonoids are. And I want to make sure that those go into my blender. So that goes in. Then I cut a half of an apple or a quarter. That goes in. A dollop of almond butter or a quarter of an avocado, depending. Then at the very end, I'm going to put in at least 2 tablespoons of flax meal, 1 frozen banana, and about a quarter of a cup of blueberries.
And then with water.
Then I just add my purified water in and blend it up. And I blend it for a good long time until it is utterly smooth and everything has been blended into a liquid form. And at that time, I drink a 16-ounce serving.
Okay.
And I pour another 16-ounce serving in a jar, and that becomes part of my lunch.
Okay. That's great. So that's bus stop number 1. So because you go to school Monday through Friday, usually, most of the weeks, except for now it's summer, so you're free. So because you go to lunch and you bring your own lunch, what do you do? And is it difficult for you to maintain this while you're going to work every day?
It's not difficult at all. Not at all.
Okay.
It's
so
really
what do you do?
Easy.
Break it down.
Okay. That second smoothie goes in my lunchbox, 16-ounce jar. And then I always, because I do batch cook, I most always have a soup in my fridge. So I will take a 16-ounce serving of that soup along. If I'm out of soup or I haven't made a soup, what I do is I take that 16-ounce jar, I put a teaspoon of miso in there, sprinkle dulse flakes in there, sprinkle some onion granules, some turmeric powder, and I put the water in, mix it up, and then sometimes I will just cut into little cubes some tofu that I've got in the fridge and add that. And I also will chop up some parsley or some kale really fine and throw that in too. So that becomes my instant soup, and I love that. So
Great idea.
the smoothie is in there, the soup is in there, and then I'll bring one more thing with me because I'm always ready for lunch. So the other thing that I bring will either be a nice salad with beans that I have cooked in the fridge, some sprinkled on flax meal, some seeds, and then I sprinkle over the top of my salad, which is greens and avocado and tomato standard, some balsamic vinegar, a little bit of lemon, and some nutritional yeast, and that's my salad.
Sounds delicious.
It is. Or I might also take a slice of sprouted bread that I've spread with some almond butter or tahini and place some berries on top or banana on top. That could be a sandwich. I could take a tofu salad sandwich, anything like that. Yeah, that's good. Leftover tempeh, that's a good sandwich. Or maybe I want to take some leftovers from the night before. Maybe I've made a really yummy bean dish or casserole. And so I'll take that as well. That might be my third thing. Yeah. So I usually have three things in my lunch: the smoothie, the soup, and the third thing, which rotates depending on what I want and what's in the fridge. So that's my lunch.
That sounds easy enough. And so do you get funny looks in the lunchroom when you're eating this lunch? Are you the weird kid with the weird lunch nobody wants to trade lunches with?
Well, I do have an unusual looking lunch, and I do get some looks, and people do say, oh, I could start using jars for my lunch. Oh, what are you eating? Tell me about that. What is that you're eating? So then I always get a chance to tell them what I'm eating. So far, no one's asked me if I wanted to trade lunches, but if they did, I'd have to say no, because most of the lunches that I'm seeing are either coming from the school cafeteria, which is
no bueno.
You don't want to go there. I feel so sad for the kids. Oh, dear me. It is bleak. Or it's something that is, kind of fast food looking.
Sure.
I don't want to go there. So, yeah, I do get some good looks, some funny looks, and some questions, but that's okay.
No, that's good. And you're always promoting clean food, dirty girl. I have to say that as a side note, Mom always has a stack of business cards, and she hands those suckers out at any opportunity she gets. I have so many subscribers and fans because of you, and you wheeling and dealing the cards. So anyways, you know how thankful I am for you for that as well. So, okay, so that's awesome. So at this point, have you had in your life any major medical problems or any health problems apart from that gallbladder attack in 1997?
Well, yes, I have. I had endometriosis when I was in my 20s.
But that was before 1997. How about after 1997?
Oh, yeah. After 1997? No, I have not. And one thing I wanted to put in here, however, that was a good question that you asked. Have I had anything else? Yes, I have. I had that. I had a benign bone tumor removed from my leg.
Prior to 1997.
Gallbladder attack. And at all of those junctures, there were a lot of medications that were offered to me. Everything from tranquilizers to muscle relaxants to, oh my gosh, you name it. I mean, there were a lot of things offered to me.
Sure.
I did not want to go there. I don't know what it is, but I always had a feeling just within. It was this inner thing that said, no, because you know what? If I'm doing that, then I'm going to continue doing that. And there must be a reason I'm doing that. So just why not find out what it's treating and try to find out another way to do it, another way to get there by making changes. And that's really been it's been a core feeling within myself, for my adult life. So
Yeah. And I think that that's fantastic. And that's what you're really talking about, I think, is whether you knew it at the time or not, but getting to the root cause of the problem and not just taking something to slap a Band-Aid on it and, just treat the symptoms, because that doesn't make any sense. Why would you just keep treating a symptom when you could just alleviate the symptom altogether through the food you eat? And of course, not all things can be cured, and we don't live forever. And, even the healthiest of people can develop disease. And it's really important for me to put out there too, that that's not what I advocate at all, but why not eat the best you can so that you can feel, as good as you possibly can during this lifetime, so, and you're certainly a shining example of that. So we have about 4 more minutes. So I'm going to ask you, that went by really quick, but I want to ask you about traveling, because I know that you love to travel.
Oh, yes.
You love to go to Europe. You love to go all over the place. And I know that when you're not working, you're usually traveling. So how do you maintain this diet and this style of eating, this lifestyle, when you travel both within the United States and abroad?
Well, whether I'm on a road trip or whether I'm taking a flight, I always pack food. What I pack, of course, is determined by how I'm traveling. If I'm traveling in the car, then I'm usually having a cooler with me so that I can bring a lot. I travel with my blender. So I bring the things I need for my smoothies, because I continue that even if I'm traveling in the mornings. And I bring my nut butters with me. I bring my sprouted bread with me. Avocados. Oh my gosh, the perfect food. I always have avocados with me. I love pumpkin seeds. So I always have those with me. So I always make sure that I have food, because it's a wasteland out there, especially if you're traveling by car. And I always look for co-ops or healthy grocery stores when we go through a major town, if it's that thing, so that I can refresh what I have. Mm-hmm. If I'm traveling by plane, I still take food. Mm-hmm. I pack some sandwiches. I'll pack a tahini sandwich on sprouted bread with the berries on top. I'll bring lots of pumpkin seeds along with me. I'll make sure that I have some, I always like to take some really good chocolate along.
I was going to ask you about that too. I know another thing that you've done, even from the time I was little, were like scrambled tofu wraps. So scrambled tofu in like whole wheat wraps with some greens in them. I remember you busting those out when we would travel when I was little, or avocado sandwiches too.
Yeah, the tofu scramble is a favorite of mine to wrap up in a... I prefer the sprouted corn tortillas over flour. Mm-hmm. So I'll do something with those, or I'll get some whole grain pitas and stuff them full and wrap them up. Sure, that's always good. And that's always good hiking food too. Yeah. So regardless of how I travel, I make sure that I've got my food bases covered. Because I am a very unhappy person. If I get too hungry, I do get cranky, very cranky and frustrated.
Yes, and I think it's all about preparation, and whether you're in your house or in a plane or in a train or a car, we always have to be prepared when we eat like this, and that's what makes it doable. So before I wrap up, just 2 more quick things. First is, I, as you know, I always tell people when I cheat, I'll be like, wow, did I eat like some greasy Chinese food, or did I have like a donut, a piece of cake, or whatever? And as you know, I quit drinking almost a year ago. Can you believe it's already been a year? But I know that you have some wine in the evening, and I also know that you have some chocolate sometimes. So a lot of people think that this kind of eating and this lifestyle is really restrictive. So tell me about it. Do you cheat? Do you, how do you balance out all the good shit with a little bit of fun shit too?
Well, I do balance it out because I do like both.
Yes.
I think the way I balance it out is that I'm very conscious of what I'm doing, and I make conscious choices about how much and when. Uh-huh. And so, for instance, if I'm going to choose to have a piece of chocolate, I have a little square like that. Or sometimes your dad will bring me home this delicious thing from Whole Foods. That's like a little truffle thing. It's wrapped
I know those.
serving.
Yep.
He's a spoiler that way. So I might not. He does ask me every night if I want one, though. He's the devil. But I sometimes say, no, thank you. I don't think I want that, because I don't. But if I do, oh, I have it.
And you enjoy it.
And I love it. It tastes so good, and I really enjoy it. I do enjoy having, I only have red wine. I don't drink any other kind of alcohol, nor do I drink white wine. And it was fun watching your interview with Dr. Greger. Said, if you are going to have wine, keep it red. I also liked what he said about grapes. But I do like to have that glass of red wine. However, I do like to dilute it half and half with some sparkling water. That's what I enjoy. And I do limit the amount that I have, and I do not have it every night. So again, for me, it's making a conscious choice to have whatever it is. And if I make the choice to have it, to enjoy it. To really enjoy it. I eat out very infrequently. If I might have a lunch out with a girlfriend from time to time. We might go out when the whole family is here and eat. But I definitely also am very conscious about my food choices in a restaurant. We usually go to an ethnic restaurant. So that's
exactly. Yeah. Well, that's great. And so I just have one more thing before I go, because we're running a little bit over, but that's okay, whatever. I want you to, with all of your knowledge that you've gained over the past almost 73 years now, what knowledge would you like to impart to everybody watching this? And that can have to do with food or not, because a lot of what I talk about is, being kind to yourself and other bigger picture stuff that's not about food, because it's not all about food, so tell us what you got. If you had to give us one piece of advice, what would you give us?
One piece of advice. If I had to give everyone one piece of advice, it would be to take good care of yourself. To take good care of yourself. And that would be physically, emotionally, spiritually, in every way, in every part of your life. Make yourself the one who is the most loved life. Without that, it's very, very hard to share that love with anyone else. And if you cannot, take care of yourself, how in the world are you ever going to be able to be there for the ones you love? And so that, I think, is a big part of the puzzle, is coming to terms with the fact that it's okay to love yourself, and it's okay to do what you need to do to make good, healthy choices for yourself that will support the life that you choose and support the things you want to do. That be it.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And I certainly try to do that. And I also encourage other people to do that. But that's, I think, because I learned it from you, obviously. So can you guys see why I'm so smart? Because this woman here. All right, Mom. Well, thank you for talking with me today. It's been really fun, and I'm sure that everybody's going to enjoy this. So keep kicking ass. You are an amazing woman, and I hope to be, just like you when I grow up. So I love you. Thank you. And let's do this again sometime. Mwah.
Mwah. Thank you so much for being you and all the work you do. I love you.
I love you. Bye.
Bye.